What's up everyone, it's Bones here. In today's video, I'll be showcasing the new Labrynth card that you can see on the screen. But before I begin, if you happen to enjoy content like this, clicking on those thumbs up and subscribe buttons would be greatly appreciated, as it goes a long way in supporting the channel and shows me that you like content like this. It would also be very welcome if you could click on those notification bells to notify you when I upload on the channel. To begin, it's not often that we get one card that kind of does something similar to another card in its same archetype that changes a deck a lot, and this one may not look like it does that, but I'll be showcasing 3 replays and a deck profile that make me believe it really does. So big welcome Labrynth reads: special summon 1 Labrynth monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard, then return 1 monster you control to the hand. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 fiend monster you control, or if you control a level 8 or higher fiend monster, you can target 1 card your opponent controls instead, return it to the hand. You can only use 1 big welcome effect per turn, and only once that turn, which is important to note. But the main effect that I'll be covering in this video, as you see we don't have an opponent, is the first one. And in this particular hand, we have the big welcome Labrynth, along with the dimensional barrier, which can really be any trap that you end up activating on your opponent. But we're going to activate the big welcome Labrynth, and from here we'll special summon out the lady. And this is a cool interaction that we have here, as if you were to summon Ariana, you wouldn't be able to get their effects because big welcome Labrynth requires you to return it to the hand as the special summon happens. But what we can do here is return the Lady of the Labrynth to our hand, and then have the ability to use its effect whenever on the turn. Now we're going to do that just now for the video, as we also have the D barrier, which whatever trap you end up activating on your opponent, as long as it's a normal trap card, will end up getting us into our fair welcome Labrynth, or whatever other trap you may need. But in this particular scenario, I want to show how it gets your engine going just on its own, along with any other trap. As you see, we set the fair welcome Labrynth, also has added protection from the lady. Now for the second play, I feel like you may want to know is what happens when you have big welcome Labrynth along with welcome Labrynth. And there is something cute that you can do here. Think of the 3 other cards in hand as just fodder, but we're going to set the fair welcome Labrynth and the big welcome Labrynth. As we pass to our opponent, we're going to activate the big welcome Labrynth and then chain the welcome Labrynth to that, as we're going to bring out the silver castle along with the lady. And the lady we can return to our hand off of the big welcome, as we're also going to be able to trigger off the silver castle because the lady went back to our hand, as we're going to be able to destroy a card in our opponent's hand. And then at any point of the turn, you can just bring back lady back onto your board, so that if you have a way to get another normal trap on board, that just always helps, or if you want to protect your back row. But it's an extra play that the deck has now, and something I thought was definitely cute. Now, I know that this is not going to be a long video whatsoever, and due to the nature of the deck, there just wasn't much I was able to do about that. But now I want to show what happens when you have big welcome Labrynth with the Labrynth Barrage. And basically the point of this video is to show how it works with the other Labrynth cards, aside from the first one, which shows just any trap card. But we're going to start by setting the 2 as we have in the previous quote-unquote combos. And then from here, our opponent is going to draw. We're going to activate the big welcome Labrynth, which will allow us to activate our barrage to copy that effect. And in this case, you want to bring out your lady, protect whatever other back row you may have left. In this particular build, we do play a lot of traps, so we would likely have more. And then we're going to return it to hand, as now we can also get the Ariana onto the field, though we do have to return it to our hand for follow-up. It's just noting that there's no good reason in my mind to get Silver Castle outside of taking the brick out of your deck. But having this flexibility with the big welcome Labrynth is very welcome, as it just offers more utility and snowball-y type playstyle, as once you start getting the engine rolling and you have all your traps, then the ceiling of the deck becomes a lot higher. Now, for the deck profile, and I said that this deck had changed a lot. If you check in my previous previous Labrynth video, cards like Metaverse had just came off the list, so I was trying that out. I wasn't playing the rivalries because DeFi had just been unlimited as well, and it's something that you can probably side. But the other notable change is how I've switched into a prosperity build, because now that we have 9 traps that are your Labrynth traps, and they're essentially sort of the same thing. I don't want to say that because Big Welcome is a little bit different to Welcome Labrynth, but they get you into your engine. And Labrynth Barrage is basically just copying that for any other trap. It's just a large part of your deck. And while Xdrav might make more sense in playing to get more cards with how many trap cards we play, the reason that I have Prosperity in here is because we want to dig for a rivalry, we want to dig for our shifter, we want to dig for our dimensional barrier. And yes, I said shifter because if you already start with a shifter and your prosperity gets banished or whatever, there's just too many different things that can happen within a game to make you want to see certain cards. The one-ofs also still lean towards the prosperity idea. I had them in the Xdrav build, except that I added the Druid Worm this time around, and this has like funny synergy with the Rivalry of Warlords, where if you bestial your opponent, then at least the Druid Worm sends itself to the graveyard and then becomes removal, along with whatever rivalry is potentially able to get off board. It also becomes another way to get rid of dimensional shifters in your graveyard if you want to put your graveyard at 0 cards again. And then for the people that have seen it in my previous videos, you already know. If you haven't, I just play 1 and 1 of each here because you can play 3 traps that give you another trap option in the deck. Backjack being a searcher as well as the prison, along with the prison being some form of protection if you don't have your lady. Also notice that the extra deck is practically the same, and there's actually one thing that can change that I have yet to. So instead of the Wind Pegasus, you can play the Aggregator, which is essentially a monster negate. Upon being sent to the graveyard off of punishment, it's also 2600 attack. And then before I move on to the card by card, I want to talk about a cute side deck option and maybe main deck depending on the format option. This deck is also getting in Photon Hypernova with weight measuring, and it reads, if your opponent controls at least 2 more monsters than you do, they must send monsters they control to the graveyard so they control 1. So we've seen a card similar to this somewhat, with the ways that rivalry and there can be only 1 work, along with maybe something like Gozen, but we've never seen something that does it so generically until now, where they just need monsters and you're not necessarily floodgating your opponent. And I don't think that this is a bad trap by any means. It helps going second, but I also don't think that it's quite powerful enough to just main deck straight away. With all of that out of the way, we'll get onto the card by card, and I'll start with the 1 Labrynth of the Silver Castle, the 3 Ladies, the 3 Arianas, the 3 Shifter, the 1 Druid Worm, the 1 Necro Valley, the 2 Labrynth, the 3 Prosperity, the 3 Rivalries, the 1 Lord, the 3 Welcome Labrynth, the 3 Big Welcome, the 3 Imperms, the 3 Punishments, the 3 D-Barriers, the 3 Labrynth Barrage, the 1 Absolute King Backjack, to round out the main deck. Onto the extra deck, we have Zeus, Machinex, Marksman King Tell, Caesar, the Baguska, Abyss Dweller, Dingirsu, Aggregator, 2 Entis, Omega, the Nightmare Unicorn, Dark, Swordsman, and Link Karibo to round out the deck profile. The side deck is basically just extra options you can play, and they'll be likely to change as the format goes on, but I don't want to give an accurate insight as far as what you should precisely side and stuff like that, because we don't know how the format can change as it develops, and that's something that I definitely look forward to with Photon Hypernova. Anyways, if you made it this far into the video, I thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them down below. It's Bones, signing out.